Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Crowning Moment. Today we have Miss Volunteer America 2023, Alexa Knutzen, and I'm super excited. I've been waiting for this episode for a while, with her being the first one to have a huge pageant. Let's go ahead and bring her into the chat today to talk to Alexa. Hello, how are you?
I'm so well. How are you?
I'm great. All right, let's go ahead and jump into it. You're Miss
Perfect.
Volunteer America. How does that feel to say that?
I mean, I'm about, and you know this, I'm about 2 months away from giving up my title, and still it is so surreal to say that I am the first Miss Volunteer America, and really it's just been such an honor and a blessing. Still feels completely crazy.
Okay, so with going to the very first like big pageant of Miss Volunteer America this year, what was that atmosphere like? It's brand new, no one knew what to expect.
Right. I mean, the atmosphere, there was definitely just like any other, national pageant I can assume, a lot of high energy, a lot of um for lack of a better word, anxiety, but good anxiety. Just adrenaline. But it definitely bonded, I think, my class of women because we were the first. We definitely went into it almost with um just really an open mind because nobody had done it before us. And so that energy was really special, really different. And again, I just feel so honored that I got to share that experience with the women that I did. I mean, all of them are just phenomenal.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember after you won, there was a big release about your evening gown had been made
Right.
by your mom. What is that, and
Yeah.
how did y'all come up with your evening gown design? Because it was so unique and so beautiful.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so a little bit of backstory as far as the reason why my mom even started making my gowns in the first place. So, as all of you listeners know, if you are pageant girls or looking into pageantry, pageantry can sometimes be an expensive sport or an expensive hobby.
Yeah.
And when I got into pageantry, my parents, I never went without. I always felt very blessed, always um like I had so many opportunities, but the fact of the matter is, my parents didn't go to college. My mom's a hairdresser, my father's a police officer. So, funds were a little bit tight. And so my mom still wanted me to, chase my dreams and feel like felt like I could wear a custom gown, even though we couldn't afford for somebody else to give me a custom gown. So my mom, from the beginning of our pageant journey, just always the first pageant I wore a borrowed gown, but after that, my mom just started making my evening gowns. And so when nationals came up, I really didn't know what I wanted to wear. I was a little, and we can go into this if you want to, but I was a little apprehensive actually to compete in Miss Volunteer America at first. And so I really, it was just something that I felt like I needed to do, but I was a little nervous. So my parents kind of took the reins. My dad has always wanted me to wear a white evening gown, and I've always said no. So I said, okay, okay, I'll wear a white gown. I'll do it. I'll do it at nationals. And our inspiration was like old pageant glam versus like meets old like USA modern like shoulder pads. So it was very, to me, like everything I love about pageantry, everything I hope pageantry continues to grow to be. So it was just kind of the marriage of all my loves all in one.
That is truly amazing. Okay, so when you say your parents were kind of like, you need to go ahead and do this, what really, like, behind the scenes was your hesitation? I mean, it was a new system, not knowing
Right.
what to expect. Like, what really just finally gave you that push to just compete for it?
Right. Before I got the call about Miss Utah Volunteer, I had decided I wanted to move to Nashville. So I was born and raised in Mapleton, Utah. That's where I grew up. And I had kind of done, the pageant scene in a couple different systems. And I thought that I was just done with pageantry. I was set to move to Nashville. I was going to go work at Vanderbilt as a speech pathologist assistant. And so I was just like, you know what? I'm closing that pageant door. And so when I got that call, I was really apprehensive because I would be going to nationals as an appointed queen, which wrongfully so, I was insecure about. I mean, I felt like I hadn't won a state title and I was just given this opportunity. How would I actually go compete at nationals? And my mom finally just like looked at me and was like, Alexa, like it has to be somebody. So why shouldn't it be you? Why couldn't it be you? And Susie on the national board as well. I was asking some questions, and she was like, "Look, when God opens one door, it's your opportunity to walk through it. Nobody can force you to do this." And so I just decided to kind of take the leap of faith and have fun with it and just go and kind of celebrate, the ending of a chapter.
That is amazing. So, after you had already done your pageant journey, you had done many different systems, so you were familiar
Uh-huh.
with the pageant scene. You said that you wanted to kind of trail off out of pageantry. Like you said, one door opens, another door closes kind of
Right.
situation. But what really made you just want to come back?
I think it was to prove to myself that I could do it, and with my exit to pageantry, I left feeling a little discouraged. I'd gotten in every state pageant I'd ever competed in, I was in the top 5. And if it was second runner up, and then one time I think third runner up. And so I felt like I was so close, but never achieving that dream. And so I think finally just doing it for myself, where I was given this opportunity, regardless if it was what I'd always imagined or not. I just decided to do something for myself because I knew that it would help me grow and it would help me network, um, professionally and personally.
That is super powerful, and I'm glad that
Oh,
you're
thanks.
saying it just the way you said it because a lot of girls nowadays or women nowadays realize that, like,
Right.
at some age, they think they're like, "Oh, I just have to be done. Like, I'm moving on, I'm getting a career, I'm getting married." And now, Miss USA, you can be married and,
Right.
competing in pageants still. So, I really appreciate you saying that because definitely it is one of those things of doing it for yourself, making sure that, deep down inside, because you're gonna have that subconscious thought for the rest of your life of, "What if?
Like,
What if
what
I
if
could
I
have
would have
done
done that?
this?"
I
Yeah, and so
agree.
with you doing it and you won, were in that moment, did you know, like, you're standing there in the final 2, were you like, "It's me," or were you still thinking like, "I don't know what's gonna happen, I'm just glad to be here?"
I mean, honestly, I think I did know it was me. I look back to my interview, and so I how my group the first year, how it worked is I had interview after the first night of preliminary competition. So I'd already performed my talent, and then I had interviewed Thursday morning. And after that interview, I just had a really, really peaceful, calming feeling, that it was me. And I know that sounds crazy, but I just felt in my bones and in my soul. Um, but I think in that final two moment when I was standing there, I felt like it was me. However, I also the logical side of me was like, I think it's me, and I think this is why I'm here, but I also have to be slightly prepared if it's not, and I already accept that. And I think the reason why I was so emotional in that moment was it was because of all of these feelings where I felt like literally the stars had aligned to me. I was already moving into Nashville. And for those of you who don't know, Miss Volunteer America is actually based in Nashville. So before, like literally everything in my life had led to that moment. And so it was almost like my intuition, my feeling that it was me and reality like coming together. And I feel like in life, some of those moments are far and few between where like they just match up so perfectly. And so I think I was so emotional because it was like so surreal that my intuition and my gut feeling was actually right. I wasn't just getting my hopes up. So it was really just so surreal. And in that moment, I was so honored to be standing next to Natalie, Miss New Jersey volunteer. She was one of my best friends all week long. She still is one of my dearest friends. And so it was just like, either way, I would have been thrilled. But of course, I was glad it was me.
Of course, at this moment, you're like, "I'm giving it one last try, like, please God, like, I will do whatever I gotta do, like, let
Right.
this be me."
I
But
know.
talking about, with the Volunteer America system, I mean, obviously, everyone out there is very new to it unless you competed last year or you've
Right.
competed in a state or a local. Tell us a little bit about how that national competition work, is there percentages? How does it work? Especially when do you guys have a lottery to pick the ways that you actually compete, or does it go by alphabetical? How does that work?
Right. So something great about Miss Volunteer America actually is part of us, Miss Volunteer America organization at its core is that we are always evolving. So things look even a little bit different this year than they did the year I competed. So after I competed, so I did compete with I and don't totally quote me on this, everybody, you can fact check me. I think I competed with like a 45% interview score, and then the rest was evenly distributed. This year is actually an even 25, 25, 25, 25. So 25 fitness, 25 evening gown, 25 interview, 25 talent. Because we always are evolving and we are trying to hone in on trying to find the most well rounded candidate. And so my right, I know, I'm like, we want well-rounded ladies
Yes.
up in here. And also I think that's so special because I am a girl that I have a great talent. I do. But I believe that there is going to be Miss Volunteer Americas or Miss Utah Volunteers or whatnot, what have you, that their talent isn't their strong suit, but they deserve to be that title holder.
Mhm.
And so
Yes.
this way it kind of helps, I think, give some take the edge off some contestants and really level the playing field. So that's kind of what that's about. And then as far as like a lottery, again, last year we went alphabetical. This year we did a lottery. So we really are trying to hone in. We take feedback really well. And we really are just trying to make the brand of Miss Volunteer America as always evolving, always staying relevant so we don't get stuck in ideas.
That is amazing though, because some pageant systems think, we did it this way from the
Right,
get-go, we're gonna keep doing it that way. And I
right,
mean, there are big, massive systems out there that we see that, overnight can crumble because they're not doing the things they need to,
right,
promote themselves or to evolve along
right.
with society today. So I want to ask you a little bit more on the Volunteer America side, because as someone that, I've never competed in volunteer, but being
Right.
able to watch it outside looking in, what is something about Volunteer America that truly just sets it apart from any of the other big ones out there?
I would say 2 things. The first one is for me, I actually was able to continue to have a full-time job, as Miss Volunteer America. I know, I
Wow,
know.
that is so
Now,
nice.
it is so nice because they felt like even though this is a full-time job as well. Miss Volunteer America is a job, and I am the national representative, and right now I am the face. However, I love that the national board recognizes that it's not really a one size fits all kind of deal where, the next girl in the next month and a half, 2 months, she is going to completely change what this role looks like. It's natural. It's natural for her to have different strengths. And so they celebrate that. They're not going to require their queen to move to Nashville. So it's, I just happened to move here. So really, it doesn't matter. It could be Texas, Alaska, Hawaii. It could be Utah again. It could be whomever. And they'll get to, be Miss Volunteer America in the state that she already lives in. And then if she's going to school full time, part time, working, whatever her situation is, she is going to allow, or we are going to allow her to tailor her year to fit her. So I think that's what makes our system so unique and so appealing to so many women, especially women who are already working in their careers, because we're not requiring people to put their life on hold. And so I think that is something that is so unique for Miss Volunteer America. And then, of course, the culture. Being a new system, I think it's so special that because we are so new, we are really paving the way for the next generation of, pageant ladies and pageant women to create something that they feel like is needed. And so when I've traveled around throughout my year, people ask like, "Oh, what is Miss Volunteer America looking for? What is Miss Hawaii Volunteer looking for, etc." And I'm like, "You know what? There isn't a blueprint. We are creating that now." And so we have this culture of creating something that maybe, little Alexa 10 years ago would have needed. And so I think that's also a really special thing about this program is it's so new and we're really creating the culture from the ground up.
That is truly amazing, especially being able to tailor your year around, whatever you do, because
Right.
a lot of systems out there, once you become their queen, they feel like, oh, you have to be ours 24/7. And if you're
And we own
not,
you.
yeah, we own you and you breach contract. And I mean, as someone, I like to say I have 5 different jobs. I have a real job, I do a podcast, I work
Right.
for a TV hosting company, I work at a craft bar, as well as I do social media for many different companies. So when you're trying to go into something like this, usually pageants would be like, oh, you're too busy for us. And they kind of just
Hmm.
knock you off the block. But I do appreciate to hear that a system out there really does care about people that, I love to be overworked, overstressed. I handle
Right.
pressures so well. But for those people that are they're getting a doctor or they're doing other things in life that are super stressful, but they are still
Right.
allowed to, hold this title and be able to represent it. Of course, there's guidelines, there's things you have to do. There's no ifs, ands, or buts on those things. But and I want to ask you about that as Miss Volunteer America. Like, what is your requirements? What do you have to do to uphold the standards of being Miss Volunteer America?
Again, like seriously, when we sat down after I won, they talked a lot about like, what do you want your year to look like? And of course, I feel like a lot of their expectations of me were never really said because I came in with a very ambitious mindset. Does that make sense? I feel like
Mhm.
those obligations or what exactly the board is asking of you is going to again change a little bit per girl. They might need to ask 1 year a little bit more from a girl if she goes in and she's like, "Hey, this is all I can give," and they're like, "Great, maybe we need a little bit more." Or maybe some girls are going to be like, "Whoa, you've got a lot on your plate. Let us help you." So again, they really are sensitive to the fact that they want the girl to have a lot of control over what her life is going to look like as Miss Volunteer America. Of course, there are things like traveling around to as many state pageants as possible, speaking engagements, and social media is big. So promoting the organization on social media, those are, I think, givens in most, national organizations. But as far as like not being able to work, not going to school, putting life on hold, they are really, really great. And what's fabulous is, Allison DeMarcus, the owner of Miss Volunteer America, and the rest of the national board has really just like gathered around me and supported me not only in my dreams as Miss Volunteer America, but as Alexa. And what's so awesome is they've helped tailor my year with people they've introduced me to or speaking engagements I've gone to really help me network in career fields or in pathways that I want to explore after Miss Volunteer America. So I think that's also the best part is they really take into consideration the queen's goals.
That's amazing. Just being able to hear that a system, like, I mean, people always say, like, oh, they really care about you. They want you to be your number
Right.
one. And then once they get behind that boardroom door and close it, it's, sometimes different. But it is truly nice to hear that they do care and they really want you, not as just Miss Volunteer, but you as Alexa to
Right.
progress and, make those networking connections. Because you never know. You could meet someone at one of your talking events that could be your next boss, or you could be running a company
Seriously.
and they're one of your employees. You never know. Um,
Right.
exactly, and I wanna ask you a little bit, you had brought up your talent, and I
Mhm.
I have to say you have a fantastic talent as a
Oh, thank
dancer.
you.
Watching that, there's only been
Thank
2
you.
people in my entire life that I've ever seen that could dance like
Oh.
no other, and that's Rachel Wyatt and you. It
Oh,
it
thank
just
you.
it gives like, I literally just got chills thinking about it because your
Oh,
talent was you said so much without even opening your mouth through the way you dance.
oh,
It is just it's incredible to watch.
thank
So if
you.
anybody hasn't seen your talent, definitely
Oh,
YouTube it, look on her account because
thank
it
you so
is
much.
it's so amazing. But aside from that, when coming up with your talent routine and your outfit designing and stuff,
Huh.
what did that look like behind the scenes getting ready to go to that national competition?
Right. So I actually, there is a little, so as far as my costume design, I had found this leotard online that I liked some of the design and cut. And this sweet woman named Marthan, she's made my costumes for as long as I can remember since I was a little girl. She used to make my costumes for the dance studio I grew up dancing at. So I've known her and I sent a picture to Marthan and I said, can we do something similar to this? Change the color. And so that was kind of that very simple. I love kind of an elegant, timeless plain look. That's kind of my thing. And then as far as my actual solo, so I actually am about. I went to college for ballet, so I am a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Ballet Performance. So most of the time in pageantry, I always did ballet, so a classical on point tutu ballet. But a few years ago, I it was my last year competing at Miss Utah America, and I had just decided I didn't want to do ballet that year because I didn't care and I didn't want to do it. And so I just decided I let my mom pick the song. I was so checked out. And so I was like, here, pick the song, whatever. She picked that song. I didn't even really like the song, if I'm being honest, at first. I know. I just was like, mom, pick the song, whatever. This was a couple years ago. And the song is all about like leaving like pain behind and finding peace and like going up to the sky and whatever. And I was like, sure, okay, it's fine. Anyways, my grandfather actually ended up passing away about a week before I performed that solo. And my grandfather actually was blind for about 18 years of my life. So he had never actually seen me dance. And so the first time that he watched me perform was from heaven, if you believe in heaven, which is sweet, on
Yeah.
a pageant stage. And the song was so fitting to him. And so from that moment on, I felt such a connection with that piece and that dance. Because again, the stars aligned for me and that dance kind of became a tribute to my grandfather. And so when I decided to compete at nationals, there was a little bit of a question of do I do contemporary or ballet? And again, it was my last pageant. I wanted to really do another tribute to my family and to my grandfather. So that is why I chose that.
That is so I always like to ask about talent because there's always a reason, there's something behind it,
Right.
and that is so heartfelt, like, my eyes were like I'm like, "Do not cry
Oh,
on this episode." I'm like, "Don't cry." Um,
I know.
truth yeah, you're gonna put me in
Thank
tears over
you.
here, I'm like, "I've already
I
watched it, so I don't need to
I
cry
know. I'm
about it
like,
now."
I usually get really emotional and talk about it. So I was like, good job, good job. I didn't cry today.
Yeah. This is the behind the scenes that people don't actually get to see. No,
Right.
but talking about okay, so we've talked about that talent, we've talked about, the standards of Miss Volunteer America. Let's talk a little bit about that swimsuit. That was kind of a hot topic,
Right.
when Volunteer America came to be and bubbled to the top of, hey, this is new, this is fresh, let's try it out.
Right.
And they, we're bringing some 1.0 vibes. And I've always been, as much as I've had, personal issues and body image issues with wearing a swimsuit on stage, there's just this essence and this confidence
Yes.
you get from being able to do it. Once you've done it, you're like, I don't even care anymore. Whatever I looked like, I did it. I got up
Right.
there. Exactly. And so I want to talk a little bit about, I know you had a fitness journey of yourself or
Hmm.
your own. Let's talk a little bit about that and definitely how you prepared and over the years before coming into the Volunteer America system.
Right. Yeah. So I love a swimsuit competition. I'm similar to you. I love it. I love watching it. I love competing in it. It's like so empowering. And I'm always
Yes.
like, if you know, you know. Like if you've
Hmm.
done it, you know.
Yes.
And as far as my fitness journey goes, so like I mentioned earlier, I used to be a ballet major, and I, wanted to be a professional ballet dancer and XYZ. With that, I did kind of develop at a young age a little bit of body dysmorphia. And so I was a little bit, I never had extremely unhealthy habits, but I definitely had issues with knowing what I actually looked like. So when I started preparing for Miss Volunteer America, and even a little bit before then, I just kind of started my fitness journey. I really wanted to go into Miss Volunteer America being 100% healthy with a healthy mindset. So I really kind of dove into, instead of focusing on necessarily what I looked like, but more of what I felt like, I got really into like intuitive eating. So instead of like, because for me, I can't do a restrictive diet because then I over obsess and I some of those emotions of body dysmorphia kind of pop up. And so for me, I really went into Miss Volunteer America where I wanted to win healthy. I wanted to win at a maintainable weight and figure because newsflash, Miss Volunteer America is really busy and I have gained a little bit of weight, but it doesn't seem drastic because I went into Miss Volunteer America wanting to be healthy. And I did win. Like, I didn't win the swimsuit preliminary. By no means did I have a full on six pack. I don't have rippling abs. I'm never going to get that unless I cut out bread, and your girl loves some carbs.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely not. Anything white is still in the
right.
diet.
Right. Like for me, I'm like, I'm sorry. Like I have to have a cookie every once in a while or I'm gonna go crazy.
Yes,
And then I'm gonna be binge eat when I cheat. And so for me, I just wanted
exactly.
right. I just wanted to go in with the mentality of just being not only in fitness, but just in every phase of competition, 100% authentically me and me at an attainable level. So that I felt like throughout my year, I was still genuine in the fact of who I was. I didn't have this looming, like, oh, I can't eat any sugar or any bread because I'm going to blow as Miss Volunteer America. And I'm like, you know what? I didn't win as perfect, so I'm not going to stress myself out. And so
Exactly.
really it's helped me have a healthy year. And throughout my year, I've had to, check myself and be like, it's okay to be a woman. My body fluctuates. I'm curvy and I'm beautiful and I'm great. And I'm just eat things that make me feel good. So that's kind of my fitness journey. And I think it's worked with Miss Volunteer America.
But that is really positive to hear as well as even after the crown, you've already won it. But because I mean, I know personally, I still do the mental check of like, girl, like you better watch yourself, like you better be
Right.
careful. But at the same time, it's I don't have to be in a swimsuit tomorrow. Like I'm not
Right.
redoing that whole event again. But at the same time, it's like
Right.
still I've always been in the mentality of, the day I won, I want to look the same at least for the rest of the year. So then I'm
Right.
noticeable. People know who I am when they see me. Like if I go and cut all my hair off and dye it blonde, everybody's gonna be like, who is this random girl
Who's this
in the
girl?
same sash?
Right.
Yeah, who is this?
I know.
So it's just one of those things that people, and I remember the first person that did it and just completely changed her look was Betty Cantrell when she was Miss America.
She
And
chopped her hair.
Oh my gosh, my heart dropped when I saw the picture of her, and I really was like, this girl gives zero this year. She gives none. And after
Literally.
that, I was like, I'm gonna be careful of everything I do after that. Careful of my hair color, but that's just like my own, I guess, personal preference of how I
See, and
deal with that.
I agree with you. Like I totally agree with you because I want to be recognizable. I want to be
Yes.
like, I won like that. I want to give it my crown like that. And I also think that's why with my fitness journey, I went in with the mentality of like, I'm not going to be able to have a full time job and be Miss Volunteer America and be in 100% diet shape all the time. So
Yeah.
I wanted to go in lean, of course, swimsuit ready, but as
Yeah.
maintainable as possible so that I didn't I don't want criticism online as much as the next person. I don't want them to be like, "Oh, wow, Miss Volunteer America ballooned." You know, nobody wants that,
Yeah.
but I went in with a healthy mentality where I was going to win authentically Alexa and at a maintainable healthy weight because we all can maintain healthy. You know, we all can
Yes.
maintain what our bodies look like when we have healthy habits. So I just wanted to go in being so healthy and so like maintainable and as genuine as I could, if that makes sense.
That such a good message. That really makes me happy that
Oh, thanks.
when you're open. I know when we started before we got recording today, you were like, I'm an open book. You ask me anything, like I'm gonna give you an
Anything.
answer. And yeah, and no, but I really appreciate that because some people are very careful and they like to, teeter around questions, but you're just like, no, like this is me and take me as I am. And I
Oh,
absolutely love
thanks.
that. I'm a stan.
Thank
But
you.
speaking about Alexa, let's dive in a little bit more of like who you are and what do you do? What do you do outside of pageantry? I mean, obviously you do have a job in Nashville, so what brought you to Nashville? What was that job, and what are you doing with it?
Yeah. So, like I said earlier, I accepted a job as a speech language pathologist assistant at Vanderbilt Medical Center. I was working in their preschool for autism there, and I loved my job. I genuinely loved my job, but I actually said this to the judges as well when I was Miss Volunteer America when I was interviewing is I'm 24 or now I'm 25, but I was 24 when I was interviewing. And to be honest, I have no idea what I want to do when I grow up. I had no idea. And I told them that, like quite honestly, I didn't know why I felt so inclined to take that job. I've worked about 10 years with special needs youth, so I was more than qualified to take it. I had a college degree, all the things. But about halfway through my year, I decided I didn't want to do speech anymore. And so I ended up quitting that job at Vanderbilt and Miss Volunteer America had just opened so many doors for me where my dreams changed. And I feel like that's okay. I'm only 24, 25. And, because of this experience, my dreams have changed a little bit and they've updated and progressed. And just like Miss Volunteer America, they've evolved. And so for me, I just felt like that job was no longer serving me. So I actually quit my job and 6 months in, and I now work remote at a sales job in Utah. Ironically, I'm from there. I live in Nashville, but I work in remote sales. It's not my forever job. I, definitely want to be an actress one day. It sounds so funny to say out loud because I've never wanted to admit it. I've never wanted to admit that I want to be an actress, but I've just decided I'm too young and to be asking what if. So I think after my year is over, I'll continue to work that sales job, but we have some other job opportunities in the works that's going to maybe get me into the field of acting on like the business side a little bit. I feel like I can't say anything, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But I definitely want to pursue my dreams because I don't want to ask what if the rest of my life. If I wouldn't have been Miss Volunteer America, then look at all these opportunities that would have passed me by. And so I definitely gonna give it a go because I'm only 25, and if I never become an actress, then I guarantee you the process of trying to become an actress is going to lead me to one path and then to the next. And so, yeah, I quit my job. And so now I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm just chasing my dreams. I'm just chasing
No,
my dreams.
but really in life, when part of your life of being, Miss Volunteer America is already evolving and changing and just opening so many doors, and then you have another part of your life that's just stagnant, not really making you happy, you really have to do what makes you happy. And so I can
Right.
tell just from like you got excited, you're like, even though it's not my dream job, but I know what I want to do. And I could totally see you being on a Hallmark movie. Like you're gonna be
Therapy.
the, the lawyer from New York that came to this small town and then she meets her
Falls in love with a man.
ex-boyfriend. Yeah. I love it. But I
Yeah.
truly, I can easily see that. I mean, I just like you would be
Thank you.
such a natural going into acting as well. It's like you seem like you could,
Thank you.
if you got to change personalities, you're like, oh, I could be this person, I could be this person. But at the
Right.
same time, I feel like pageantry really teaches us. I was talking to, oh gosh, I've interviewed so many people this week. Who did I interview yesterday? Lord have mercy, it already switched my head. I was interviewing someone yesterday. I
You're
literally
gonna
have
think about
interviews
it at
back to
like right after we end this call, you're gonna
yeah.
remember.
Oh, I can tell you. I was interviewing Alex Weaver, who is the NASCAR host and reporter. She's the main one for
Oh,
NASCAR. Sorry,
amazing.
that I was looking at my
Yeah.
list of people that's pictures above you. So I was interviewing Alex, and she was talking about the persona of being able to turn on when the camera comes on. You
Right.
are excited and happy, and she's like, even though I am a person that is excited and I am happy about things, sometimes you gotta just fall back into the shell.
You
Just
do.
let yourself relax a little bit. But I feel like even from pageantry, you're taught, when you're in that interview, you're on. You are the
You're
most
on.
open, honest person you can be with yourself and with others around you because you've got to show them who you are, wear your heart on your sleeve,
Right.
or they're not going to want to pick you. They don't know who you are. If you
Exactly.
walk in and just say, I'm from this small town and that's me, they're going to say, who was that girl and where is she going? Maybe back to that small town. Like they're not going to
Right.
know who you were. But
Right.
I do think through pageantry, it definitely will. It's probably prepared you for that, especially just going in and through dance
Right.
and being able to physically act out what you're trying to portray to others, and for them to kind of get that through your movement is definitely another good thing that I think growing up that truly is going to help enhance all of that going into the acting career.
Definitely. And when I in college, I actually kind of became a theater kid. So, like,
I love it.
I know. So there is a professional theater in Utah. It's called the Hale Center Theater, but I was in one of their shows. And if any of your listeners or if you know, it's called Strictly Ballroom. It was a musical on West End in London. Anyways, we had the U.S. premiere in Utah, and I was the mean girl. Think Sharpay Evans, but with red
Oh
hair
Lord.
and Australian. So that was me. I
Oh.
love playing a villain. I know that sounds crazy, but like Mean Girls remake, cast me as Regina George, please. Like, I'll beg you. But like, so I definitely like theater helped. But to your point, pageantry has given me so much. Like, one, financial freedom. Because of Miss Volunteer America, I am debt free, and then
Amazing.
two, just exactly what you said, being able to put yourself out there unapologetically, being able to turn it on, being comfortable in front of cameras, being comfortable in a bathing suit walking on stage versus a gown. It's really taught. I feel like pageants at the end of the day teach so much versatility and so much confidence in who you are because you are putting yourself in front of a panel of judges to be judged. And that is hard. And it can be scary, but it teaches you a lot of like self love and confidence. And even though you are being judged, it almost helps you take the value away from the judging panel. Because odds are,
Yeah.
if you attend pageants, you maybe win two, big ones, three big ones, and it's really, so it teaches you to take that value away from a panel of five and be like, hey, I didn't win that one, but I'm really great. And what did this teach me? And so, really, I think pageantry, just like you said, has set me up for success. And so I kind of just feel confident to just not know what I'm doing. I'm only 25. So,
Exactly. That's the big thing. It's like even when Arbity, who's Miss USA, is like, "Oh, like I'm 28, I'm the oldest," and I'm like, "She's only 28." Like, and when you say I'm only 25, I'm like, "You're only 25. You're right. Like, this is crazy."
right,
Thinking, all these big jobs that we're all taking on at this age, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I still feel like a kid. I'm adult. Treat me like an
I
adult, but I
know.
still feel like
I
a kid."
I always tell people I'm not a real adult, but like
Yeah.
my mom still, I mean, I live with a girl named Kate, my wonderful friend, my roommate. She's the one that has all the furniture. I just moved in, and my mom does most of my clothing shopping still. So I'm not a real adult. I'm just an adult that can legally make decisions.
I love that. Okay. One more question before we get to the actual final
Okay.
question. I
Yeah.
want to ask you, from Volunteer America, obviously there's some sort of, a prize package with it. What from this prize package from Miss Volunteer America has really just been amazing? I know you said you're debt free, but other than being debt free, what else do they give you in this prize package?
So, I mean, oh man, the list goes on and on. One of my favorites is free Botox. Not gonna lie, guys, I'm a
Oh,
Botox
yes.
queen. I love Botox. So Botox, but also the wardrobe. Like I'm gonna say number one, Paige Dennis of Joanne's of Union City in Tennessee. They after my year, so in the next 2 months, I'm gonna go pick up out $10,000 worth of clothes that I can wear after my year. If I know if that's for judging, if that's for I know events, speaking opportunities, because again, they know that a national title holder often gets booked for emceeing, judging, and they want to give the again a base level for success. And then also just, I mean, Keith Pittman with Lasting Impressions, as well as Paige, they will rent dresses out for me for every event. If I need a cocktail dress, a gown, I'll just message them, they'll send it to my house. And so really, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, there's so many people scattered around the United States. I think that's also the best part that Miss Volunteer America, even though we're based in Tennessee, doesn't really have a home, is we have sponsors all over. I mean, I've had so many sponsors in Utah since that's my home state. Every time I go and visit, help me out. We have sponsors in Texas all over. And so really the wardrobe and like lashes and again Botox, there is a lot with our price package that makes the year possible. And I again, be natural. I'm a natural queen as well, but Botox is my thing. Oh, extensions.
Mm.
This was a personal find. But so it's not a Miss Volunteer America, but they do have a hair sponsor here in Tennessee that, colors your hair, cuts your hair, will do tape and extensions. So really they have the queen really set.
That is incredible. I mean, you said Botox, and I was like,
I
okay.
know,
But
I'm like,
also, yeah, I'm like, that, not a bad idea. But when you said $10,000, if nobody's watching this and they're just listening, my jaw literally dropped. That is incredible. Like, and even after your reign, you're still reaping from these rewards that you worked really
yes.
hard to get. And that's the thing is, people are like, oh, you get a great prize package, congrats. But you're like, no, I worked really hard for
I
this entire
worked really
prize
hard
package.
for that.
Yeah.
Yes, and
I
so it's kind of good that like after the year I'll get that, and so I'm really
yeah.
excited because I think in the next like month or month and a half I'll go down to Union City and pick out some stuff. So I'm excited.
Oh, that's gonna be such a sweet moment, but also very sad because you're like, okay, well, this is
Very.
an end era for me, and now you have to have a new Taylor Swift era to go off on.
I know. I'm like, ugh, which new era? Alexa tried being an actress era.
Yeah. No, I love that. But we've come to that point in the podcast where I like to ask everyone the same final question. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. In what way has pageants positively impacted you?
Throughout this podcast, I feel like I've mentioned a few things. I know, like being debt free, given me um, confidence, XYZ. But I think if I had to pick one, pageantry has definitely instilled in me, or reinstilled, I should say, the what I like to call the dreamer mentality. So, when we were all little kids, when you ask, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Most little kids say things just off the wall. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be an actress. I want to be an ER doctor. I want to be, an Olympic athlete, etc. And in my opinion, we're all born dreamers. And as we grow up, if it's through trauma or through just friends or through things like that, we feel this need to become realistic, which there's nothing wrong with that. But I love that pageantry for me has blessed me with the outlook that anything is possible and has reinstilled this dreamer mentality. And like I was talking about being an actress, like if a small town girl from Mapleton, Utah, who is, a first generation college graduate, and my grandparents are from Norway and my dad's a first generation American citizen, like if I can be Miss Volunteer America, like so can you. And like imagine all the things we all could do. And so for me, it's kind of reinstilled this idea that I am capable of greatness, and why shouldn't I deserve greatness? And so it's kind of reinstilled this idea that we can do things and we can do hard things. And so honestly, that's the number one throughout my pageant experience, and especially throughout this year, that I'm grateful for, that it's turned me back into a dreamer.
Wow, I have never gotten an answer like that, but that truly, like
Oh,
in my brain, I'm like, yes, like yes, this is
oh,
all yes.
thank you.
No, but truly, Alexa, you definitely hit something there with, growing up, we always have those pressures around us, or we do have those traumatic situations that happen where we have to become realistic, or, we think
Right,
mentally we need to become realistic. But really at the end of the day, it's like, who am I living for? Am I living for myself, or am
right,
I living for those around me? And you definitely have already cracked that code of like, you're like, you know what? There's always tomorrow. I will figure something out.
right.
I'm still Miss Volunteer America. It's okay.
I'm so Miss Volunteer America at heart.
No, I absolutely love that. But, you know, This has been an amazing episode. Definitely a fangirl moment for me. Just watching you win
Oh,
it's just been such an amazing year because I've been following you on social media and seeing what you've done. As soon as you won, I mean, I was deep diving. I knew what USA pageant or whatever you were in. I knew what you were doing.
oh,
Because at that point, everybody was like, "Who is this girl?" And so now it's nice to know that I've met you. I can say, "Oh my gosh, she's the nicest
oh,
person. Like she's so sweet, and you're
you're
so
so sweet.
ambitious." But I really do appreciate you jumping on here, and thank you to the Miss Volunteer America entire organization for allowing you to do this, as well
Of
as
course.
it's been great. And I hope people today got something out of this episode because
Mm,
I know I surely did. But again,
thank
Alexa,
you.
yeah, thank you so much. But guys, you never know what happens in the future, so I guess we'll have
Never
to
know.
check out next week on another episode of the Crowning Moment. Bye, guys.